Joining us by phone today is Niagara Falls legislator Christopher Robbins, and we're going to talk about some concerns that he has about the new Amazon warehouse that's going up out by the Niagara Falls Air Base. Chris, thank you so much for joining me. I don't know if you know this or not, but you are my first guest of the new season, if you will. And I say season, the last season was 7 years ago. So it's kind of a reboot, kind of a new season. I'm just, I have a little bit of spare time, and Brad Ryder got a new show on WLVL, and I'm like, well, I can't be shown up by Brad Ryder. So I decided I'd get my own show. So thank you so much for joining me.
And I guess it's an honor to be your first guest.
Well, these are interesting times, and personally, I go by the new Amazon building all the time, and I swear to God, it looks like they're going to open it next week. Every time I go by, it's even further and further and further ahead than it was, and I think to myself, how do they move this fast? Now, Chris, is this going to be the biggest building in the county?
Oh, I definitely think it's the biggest building in the county. I'm not sure. I'm going to guess it is. Obviously, when you drive by, you take a look at it, and you're like, it's almost like, oh my gosh, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So it's definitely, it is huge. And when you do square footage, it's got to be one of the biggest. And at the same time, I think we know the transformation of where we are, that the main streets turn to the malls, and the malls are turning to Amazon, I guess, unfortunately. That's how things did throughout my life. I remember shopping for clothes on Main Street in Niagara Falls or whatever, and unfortunately right now there's not too many businesses left on Main Street. Then I remember going out to the Summit Park Mall, and obviously that's no longer, and some of the other malls in Western North
You shopped at Chess King, right?
What's that?
Chess King?
My IOU sweatshirt.
Yeah,
exactly. And then I went to, and now it's Amazon. You come home from work and you're like, oh, there's my 4 boxes. So.
Well, it just on the same note, I was thinking the other day when I was driving by, what a change to the quote unquote neighborhood that is, because I used to get my milk there. Growing up, not me, but my parents. There's a dairy practically across the street, or at least used to be, and we literally went and got our milk there. And now, there's this huge, absolutely mammoth Amazon warehouse. And, the construction has been going on, and things change here and there. I noticed some, temporary lights, and then they move things around a little bit. But obviously there are going to be traffic concerns with anything this huge. Now, I saw that you sent a letter to Niagara County has like a liaison for the traffic. Is that right?
Yep, I think that's a good term to use for it. Yeah, basically we have for the site in making sure that our things are being done at the site for it. And what my concerns were is, and I, it's hard. Last week when I wrote the letters, it was that day with the windy storm, and I was interviewed by some of the other television channels. And when I did them, I mean, obviously dust was blowing all over the place and everything like that, and it was dirty and things like that. Those are inevitable with some of those things.
Sure.
But my main thing was at that point, and the economic development for Niagara County and where we were, I'm 100% supportive of having it there. I do know, that there is going to be traffic concerns. I'm at the point right now, and I laughed at some people, oh, why didn't you think of this before? Oh, we thought of it. Everyone thought about it.
I'm not going to lie. I had the same question when I got your letters. I was like, it's kind of a little late now, isn't it?
Yeah, and believe me, right when they said they're going to do it, why didn't it go on Grand Island? They didn't want the traffic. Why didn't it go here? They didn't want to. Everyone knows that that's one of the concerns.
Sure. Is it just more than you thought it was going to be, Chris?
I don't think so. I really don't think it's anything different. I just think it's right now is just making sure that we're on top of some of the things that they can do while building. I was there the one day and watching a truck come out with so much mud on its tires that, a construction truck coming out that in front of these houses that, it just was a mud flying off all over the place and doing those kind of things. I think those are some of my main concerns. you also have to, put into the factor. I mean, I think we're well aware of when you order a T-shirt from Amazon or whatever you order, it's there the next day. Amazon is not in the business of being slow. So
right.
they don't want to be in traffic jams. That's not what they're doing. So they've done their marketing studies and they've done their things. They're with us. They don't want traffic. They want that to move right along as much as the people in town in Niagara and everywhere else. So and they've done their traffic studies. I think we're good. Obviously, I don't think it's with something that large as well as the amount of things going on, there's going to be an increase in traffic. The reconfiguring of the street is not done right now. Right now we're in construction. The street is going to be 100% reconfigured. There's, turns in and turns out, lights and everything that's going on. So I think at that point is when we will really get the idea. One of the parts of my letter, I think that you've seen, is I want right now the thought process of, an on and off ramp on Lockport Road. I think
that was the thing that really stuck out the most to me is like that seems to me like a pie in the sky sort of like dream. I just feel like getting an on and off ramp to, an interstate shoot off or whatever that is there. That's a big ask.
It 100% is, and I think, when people are saying, why didn't you think of this before? Everyone thought of that at that time too, but with that at the same time, we were going to, I think people are. You thought we were going to get an on and off ramp on Lockport Road before they built the Amazon project?
Right.
That wasn't going to happen. If right now we already start the process and people find out, is it a pie in the sky? I don't know that answer. Will they come back and say, Chris, to do an on and off ramp at that thing cost, I'm going to use hyperbole, $100 million, or it costs, $5 million. I don't know the price on doing those kind of things. We have to see what that, I guess, how long the field goal is. Is it a makeable field goal type of thing?
Right. Now, currently the entrances and exits are on Lockport and Tuscarora, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Are there any plans to use Hasley, which runs kind of behind it?
I'm not real sure. I don't think it is not for... There possibly is an entrance for workers, I believe, on that, but not for vehicles that would Amazon vehicles.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense.
Is it more logistically complicated considering that you're basically butting up against an international airport and a military base? I imagine there has to be all sorts of more limitations built into the project and, the traffic and everything that goes into it because of those factors. Is that right?
Yeah, I do think that there is some limitations. I think that there's some possibilities too because of that.
Sure.
I think you can easily think of down the road when we're talking about a warehouse that big, and now you can add in flying things in and out. That could make it into a different, a whole different type of facility. So I mean, obviously, and then the air base at the same time. Obviously the security issues and those kind of things to make it a little more difficult. Both of those are not easy, we can just go and add another road through there or things like that because they're, both highly secured, I guess.
Well, once Amazon becomes like an, official arm of the military, they're right there.
Yeah, exactly.
They already have the drone program, so they're in that direction. Chris, let's back up a little bit because we really should have started here.
Sure.
All right, so you are a legislator from Niagara Falls for the Niagara County Legislature, one of 3 Democrats. Is that right?
That is correct. Yeah.
Now I'm
the minority leader.
I thought that they had outlawed the Democratic Party in Niagara County as a whole, like 10, 15 years ago. But some of you still exist. I was completely unaware.
Yeah. Well, believe me, it's getting smaller. It definitely is getting smaller.
So how does the minority contingent get along with the rest of the legislature? You're vastly outnumbered, which is weird because, when we were younger, it was the other way around. It was Democrats were in charge, and there was one Republican out in Heartland going, hey, what about me?
Yep. Yeah, basically right now, how it is set up, I represent an area of Niagara Falls as well as town of Niagara, the DeVoe area of Niagara Falls mostly, and then the town of Niagara, and also off of High Park Boulevard. What's that? The east side of High Park Boulevard, and going into the town of Niagara. Jeffrey Elder, who's Center City of Niagara Falls, as well as we have one representative, Carla Speranza, out from the Lockport area. So it is only three of us. As a whole, I will tell you, I really enjoy my working relationship with my colleagues on the Republican side, and I think it works in different ways in this. You know, obviously, as a minority, that there's a lot of different things that you're not going to be able to get accomplished.
Right.
But I think that Dave, as a whole, I don't want to say they're not as intimidated against us when we are only three. And so I think they say, okay, what can Chris offer? What can Jeff or Carla offer? And I think that has helped. Whereas if it was 8-7, I think we would be constantly looking for control. But unfortunately for me, as again minority leader as well as the Democratic side, it would be a miracle for us to win the elections and take over the majority. Whereas I think they were a lot more contentious over the past years when it was I want to say closer,
right.
least, or like you said, or, you know, going from one group to the other, meaning, going, red to blue type of thing.
Sure. Well, I mean, I did obviously, got your press releases from Kevin Schuler. Is he the clerk of the legislature?
Yep. He is not. He's the public information officer.
For some reason, I was thinking that the PIO was always the clerk.
Yeah. Well, I want to say if the Democrats were in charge, we might have something like that more, like that.
Right.
Our configuration a few years ago when we were configuring those things, that would be, how we would look at it in there. I think one thing as, being in the minority is we can constantly say the things that we could fix, and then that's one of the advantages.
That is one of the advantages of not being in charge, is nothing's ever your fault.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Yep, 100%. When someone says this is bad or this is going on, I say, well, blame it on those guys.
Right.
And that's probably one thing that to have a good working relationship, I try not to do as much as on that, and they keep me more in the loop because that I wouldn't do that as much rather than just every meeting or every time or everything like that. Believe me, we disagree all over the place, but I don't go in there and just keep throwing bomb after bomb after bomb and say, what's going on, where is, and then they're more likely to bring me in to say, okay, can you help us solve these things?
How long have you been in the legislature, Chris?
Oh, boy, now for some reason I'm thinking I'm off. It's going to be 8 years.
8 years, all right. So this is your...
And I'm up for re-election right now, and I have another 2-year term coming up.
Gotcha.
And it looks
so
like
you're wrapping up your fourth and running for your fifth.
Yep.
Okay. Were you politically active prior to that? School board, city council, anything like that?
I was a Niagara Falls city councilman, and then at one time after being a Niagara Falls city councilman, I took some time off from government. My children were young. My wife is the dean of the College of Education at Niagara University, and then I work for the Niagara Falls School District. And one of the issues that I would have, basically time at that point, and saying, I would rather go out to my kids' baseball game than talk to Scott Leffler's podcast, I guess. Those kind of things. So
if I had a choice of being at a baseball game right now as opposed to on my podcast, I would as well.
Exactly.
Speaking of baseball,
are the kind of things that,
Speaking of baseball, it is obviously baseball season, and the Niagara Falls Americans are back at Sale Magley Stadium starting next month, I think. I want to say early June they start.
Right.
I would say early June they start their second season. Did you get a chance to see any of those games last year?
I did. I am a sponsor. I sponsor some of the things that I sponsor out there is the connection with the Americans with the Little Leagues in Niagara Falls. So I sponsor a Little League night there. Definitely a passion of mine. Growing up, Sam Magley Stadium was important for me. I played in there as a high school baseball player throughout. And then also, I go back to the Niagara Falls Pirates and Rapids and Mallards all the way through.
Oh, I forgot the Mallards. I used to go to Rapids games all the time. Me and a couple buddies, we basically grew up in Sal Magley Stadium. We would go to game after game and we went and we walked around and we ate hot dogs and drank pop and we met girls.
And we ran for foul balls. That was it.
Yeah.
And I have fond memories of that too. And the White Sox during that time, the White Sox and all the kids would go out into the outfield or whatever. We were the bleacher bums or whatever they would call us, and we would all sit out there. And the same thing with me. It was a different time, and that was always wow. If you could go to the ball game or walk over, there's a baseball game, and it's affordable, it was fun, and obviously amazing talents went through there over the years too.
Oh yeah. It is good to see that the Americans are trying to bring that back. This year, All West New York Radio has a partnership with them as well. We've got we're gonna do some things for them. They're gonna do some things for us. So. And they actually reached out to us, which is a real sign that last year we tried to do a decent job of covering them. They apparently noticed, and the fact that they noticed and reached out to us, I think is a sign that they're trying to do the right thing.
They do, and I know, and throughout the league it's different, and it's definitely a challenge. I think we understand where Niagara Falls is, or unfortunately, it's not what it was when we were kids,
right.
It's a depressed community right now, and trying to make it better. But these are the small things that we do need, and where a family could go see a baseball game for $20. That's amazing,
right.
That's what we need. We need more of those kind of things.
There are a lot of cool things going on, though. I mean, so I'm in the old Carborundum building, which is, the corner of Buffalo Avenue and Portage.
Yep.
And, right behind the building right now, the helipad's built, but I believe they're supposed to open later this month. And
that was the goal. I know it got moved back a little bit, I think, but that's exciting there. I think that's one of the spots that people don't realize that it is going on there.
Yeah. And then I know that the mayor or somebody is in negotiations to try and build, was it an ice rink not too far from here?
Yep. Yeah, and that's been a hot topic of controversy, I guess, is the mayor is trying to do...
you can't have anything with NFR without there being controversy.
Yeah, exactly.
They used to have their office in this building, actually.
Yeah, they're not there anymore? I was going to say,
maybe they still are technically, but I never see them around.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, hey, I really do appreciate your time. Is there anything else that you wanted to let the people know about before we get you back to your lunch?
No. I think overall, like I said, I hopefully everyone knows that they can reach out to me, and I'm available anytime that they have questions or concerns. And when we circle back around to Amazon, that's where that process started from that. Some concerned citizens said, what about this, what about that? And when it was certain things, there were things like, I think those are things that we can do right now and should be being done. I was able to, say, all right, let me see how I can do and help with that.
Right.
So I think it is, that I'm available. People can contact me anytime. And same with you, Scott. I'm more than willing to be your whatever visitor on your podcast down the road to 100th or something like that, or 50th.
I appreciate that.
So you got my number, and we'll definitely be available.
All right, and same here. If you need anything, you know how to get a hold of me. Feel free to reach out.
Yep, I appreciate it.
All right, thank you so much, Christopher Robbins.
You.
All right.
Yep. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.